Hello and welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here. Hello.
What a year it's been, Mick.
What a year it's been. So this video will go out sometime around the Christmas day. And Dan and I thought we would just have a little look back over 2022.
Mm-hmm. A recap, if you will.
All our favourite things.
Yeah, lovely.
Because sometimes it's nice to do that.
Indeed. It's the end of the year clip show.
It's the end of the yeah. It's the easy thing we can squeeze in towards the end, and yeah, if only. Okay, there are many things and some honourable mentions.
Yeah.
Kick us off, Dan.
Okay.
Highlights of the year.
Highlights of the year. Well, starting chronologically, not that we'll end up anywhere near chronologically, but the first video that the first vlog I did was the creation of my acoustic guitar by the magical Mr. Johnny Kincaid.
Back in January, they were the first videos.
First videos on the channel.
Yeah.
I think.
If you haven't watched it, Dan did a video a day, very detailed look at Johnny Kincaid building the most amazing acoustic guitar.
Let's dive in and see what she sounds like. Truly wonderful.
How's it been, Dan? How's the guitar?
It's magic. It is truly magic. And I'm going to do another video with it a year on. I want to go down and see Johnny. He's moving at the moment, so I've got to work out a time with him. But I want him to see the guitar after I've been playing it for a year and see how it's settled. But it is the most astonishing acoustic guitar. It's rare that things are better than I imagined they would be.
Especially a custom build.
Yeah, and it really is.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. Well, I would suggest then that early 2023 we should get on with actually recording it again and having a listen.
Yeah.
So you say it's changed a lot?
It changed within the first 6 weeks. I couldn't believe how much it had changed. But yeah, a really interesting thing about that video, and something I'll never forget, I went to see Midnight Oil at the Roundhouse, and it was their last ever tour. And I've been a fan of those guys, and I probably saw them more than any other band in Australia when I was growing up. The most extraordinary band. And Jim Magini and Martin Rotzi, the two guitar players, responsible for some really killer tones. Anyway, I went down and Martin said to me, I just want to say that thank you for the videos you guys did over lockdown, especially for the building of that acoustic guitar video.
No
He said
way.
it was extraordinary. And I was sitting there going, it's sort of blowing my mind. But it was to see a true master at work. Magic.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. The first thing I'm going to pick out is we did a couple of live sessions this year.
Yes.
One of the hopes for TPS, we're always trying to progress and evolve and do different things. And one of the things that both of us have been fizzy about, but me particularly, given that I twiddle all the knobs, was doing some live band sessions. And we're a little bit limited with what we can do space-wise. But we had Aynsley Lister in. He was the first one we did, actually.
Right.
And because Ains and I are friends, we're all friends. And I said, Ains, how do you feel about bringing your band in? And we can sort of have a go.
you've done a couple of gigs with Aynsley this year.
I have, and that
wonderful.
has been another highlight, a wonderful thing. Actually, in general, just getting out and playing again has been mega. Anyway, so Ains came in and he was releasing a new record, which actually didn't come out until the end of the year, November, I think it was. And just a 3-piece, and played and sang, and that meant a big deal to me.
Beautiful.
Because it meant we could do music in this room, and they were comfortable here. And I just really loved that.
And then, of course, our dear friend, Mr. Joey Landreth.
Yeah, so the
Brothers Landreth and Dave.
David and Roman and Joey came in, and we did the same thing. And I don't know, there's a lot riding on it, isn't there? When you're dealing with artists and they're sort of entrusting you
to get it
to
right.
make them sound okay.
Yeah.
And then, bless them, they were very complimentary about it all, and they played great because they were relaxed. So I do. Unfortunately, the videos weren't massively highly watched because I think people maybe don't expect music from us.
Sure.
They expect gear. But in any case, we shall do more band sessions, largely because it's great fun.
Great fun.
And it's a really interesting way to hear those artists. So if you haven't checked out either of those videos, please do. All the links to everything we talk about will be in the links below.
The next one for me, Andy Timmons came over and he made me cry.
Well, so... oh, man. We lost one. Hey, buddy. So...
We had him set up in here and he played and it was... Andy Timmons is a very moving guitar player. And
I will have just cut in the bit where he made you cry.
Great,
Dan,
sure.
Yeah.
So we've experienced that. So Andy was the first guest we ever had on TPS.
Oh my God, at the Borderline.
At the Borderline. And we went down there and you know, I said, oh, there's no chance you want to be on the show. He said, yeah, come down. I'm like, oh my word. So we went down and filmed with him. And I remember, we'd set up and got some sounds and Mick said, I don't suppose you remember how to play She's Leaving Home. And Andy goes, oh, I haven't played that in a while. Let me think about it. And he starts to play and then, cut to we're both in floods of tears. And he just has this incredible ability to emit emotion with his playing. It's extraordinary. And that was a perfect example.
Yeah.
The other thing about that Andy being here was we toured. We did a little tour with Andy and did some gigs. And of course, with that, we had a look at the rigs that we used and the Andy gigs, which was great fun. But of course, we had a look at the Halo.
Yeah.
which is the pedal that Andy did with Robert Keeley.
And we got him. He demonstrated it as at its full form in a way that we could never do.
Yeah.
You're gonna swear. You start hearing what I'm doing, you're gonna swear there's reverb. It's not verb. That's That's just the delays. So it's the magic of what's happening there. But it's also the modulation that they came up with, and we spent a huge time on that too, trying to find the right spread of it. But so it's really going back to the tape, where when you've got that imperfect tape and it's just coming back, and that's what the tape does so well. Those echoes really degrade in a beautiful way.
That whole experience actually was a big deal. It was a sort of plateau changing deal for us, because Andy was here for almost a week and we hung out for almost a week and we got to spend a lot of time together. And I think that camaraderie, that helped the whole thing just be easy and smooth.
Yeah.
And it helped the gigs go well.
Yeah.
And putting the extra time in, I think, is so worth it, rather than it be like, right, come in, we start filming at 11, we'll finish at 1 and off you go. But for you and I as well, playing on the same stage as Andy, I think it raised our games, because it had to raise our games.
Yeah.
And then, we put together rigs and we did the show.
Who needs chorus? Like you got this.
It was one of those moments in your life where you're here before it and then you're here after it.
Yeah.
And you never come down from there.
No.
It's as I say, a plateau raising experience. And Andy, if you watch this, we're just forever grateful for all of that.
Yeah, for your friendship and for your inspiration and everything you're doing, man. Just the best.
Yeah, it reminded, because we did something similar with Joey a few years before, and it was the same kind of like, oh my God, this is a plateau raising.
Yeah.
Oh, shall I use that analogy again?
Indeed. Beautiful.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, and I guess we really have to mention Paul Reed Smith.
Have to.
I got the call from PRS Europe. So I've known, there's a guy called Gavin Mortimer who runs PRS Europe, and I've known Gavin for 25 years. And we've been in and out of touch over the years. When I worked on guitar magazines, we were in touch, and then a little bit over the years and whatever. And Gav gets in touch and says, would you have Paul on the show? And I had to do a double take, because I'm like, really? What, Paul Reed Smith is going to come all the way to here in rural Somerset?
Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here.
Paul here, but you got so much stuff going on in front of you. I mean, you're using horse meat in a way that it's never was intended to be used. You're using it as a post amp or something.
Yeah, and it's wonderful for that.
You don't chirp it. I think the chirping came from the amp being too bassy, and they needed the bass to go away. And if you listen to Gilmour, he's chirping the low notes. You listen to, if you listen to, chirping the notes, but it's a quarter chirp, and he's using the tip of his pick.
Because you text me and you said, "You're not going to believe this," and I'm like, "Try me." Paul Reed Smith's coming on the show. I went, "No, he's not." And you went, "Actually, he is." I'm like, No, I said, "What?" which Paul, not that Paul Reed Smith, no, really that Paul Reed Smith. Couldn't believe it.
He's a busy guy, right? And he's among a handful of the most important guitar makers alive, and has a very unique place in guitar making, guitar manufacturing history. So that the fact that God knows how many PRS dealers there are worldwide, thousands, and he makes the time to come here. So
well, I remember going to see. I'd always wanted to meet him. Thought he was fascinating and what he had done and achieved in the industry, incredible. And I was at a guitar show and he was going to be there, and I thought, oh great, I'll get a chance to meet him. The queue to meet him was out the door.
Yeah.
It was like, and I just went by and you could just see him signing stuff and saying hello. But yeah, so that was the first time I'd ever met him.
Yeah, it was quite the whirlwind when he came in. But he was very kind to us, and I think he was the best thing about it for me was that he was engaged with what we were doing.
Yeah.
As much as we were interested in asking him about new pedals and guitars and all that kind of stuff. And it was just one of those chats that you'll never forget. And
no, it was magic.
We're grateful for him for coming in.
Yeah, indeed.
Thank you. Time out. This is really good. This is really good. You guys are making pedals work in a way that I'm only hooking them up quick to the amp,
You can. It's got a preamp that you can switch in and out.
Is the buffer transparent?
Yeah.
It's not buffered at the moment.
It's not buffered at the moment. It's off because you can switch.
Can you get a green card and move to America?
So, on the list, and a real lifetime achievement for me is talking to Neil Finn on stage with him about his rig and going through his guitars. And I'm actually sort of tearing up just thinking about that moment,
That was one of those, are we actually doing this moment?
It was crazy. I was at the Roundhouse and I had been in touch with Neil's guitar tech, who over the years, he'd asked for some, helped him out with a few bits and pieces for Neil's rig. And years ago, Neil borrowed a Memory Man from me, and him and Sharon they all signed it. Anyway, I said, I don't suppose there was any chance of coming down and shooting a video, and said, yeah, absolutely. And if you remember, they had parking for us out the back of the venue. They treated us so unbelievably well.
It's the most civilized any sort of location job has ever been.
It was just beautiful.
Yeah.
And we got to go through every part of Neil and Liam's rig.
Liam's rig, yeah.
And speak to both Neil and Liam, and Neil there with the gold top.
Yeah, but that's the
sound.
Yeah, that's the sound.
The Don't Dream It's Over.
Played the chord.
Just.
I mean, it's that whole thing, never meet your heroes. Dan and I are lucky enough, privileged enough. We've been in enough places down the years through our jobs to have met loads and loads of people. That's why we've got the name drop horn, although it's not being used today, because our jobs have involved meeting loads of famous people. I think when it's fair to say, Neil Finn is your songwriting musical hero.
That's it. He's the top of the tree.
So he is elevated for Dan in a kind of, in a cerebral sense. And while you're going there to do the job, get the video shot for TPS and bring the information and, shed some light on how this happens in that sort of environment. There's the personal thing of going.
Yeah. I mean, the whole time we're driving there, I'm waiting for the phone call to say, we can't do it.
We're not doing it. Yeah.
But that never happened. And we turn up there and then it happened.
And the cherry on that particular cake, on the day we were there, we went out to have some food between sound check and gig time. And who should we see but Michael McKeen?
So Davidson Hubbins from Spinal Tap. But here's the kicker. Driving to London to do the interview with Neil Finn, we drove past Stonehenge.
And we did a Stonehenge gag.
We did a tap henge gag.
But at this point, Dan, I think you may have a more pertinent question.
I do have a pertinent question. Are we doing Stonehenge?
No, we're not doing Stonehenge.
Look at Stonehenge!
It's Stonehenge.
It's actually Stonehenge!
It's Stonehenge.
And then there he is. Oh, man.
What a day.
Incredible.
What a day.
Incredible.
Okay, I guess I should talk about the Strat journey. Regular viewers will know that there have been a series of vlogs over the past few years of me basically tearing my hair out, trying to turn Blue into my main guitar, as was American Vintage Reissue Strat, into something a bit more like a vintage guitar. And last year, I was lucky enough to finally be able to buy one.
That's a magic moment.
It had been a guitar that had been on loan to me for a while, and we went back and forth. Anyway, finally got to buy it, then went nuts, or actually had previously gone nuts in
The week beforehand.
2 weeks, I think it was.
Right, okay.
I acquired 2 other Strats, and we ended up making a video with the 4 guitars. The 61, a 70 Strat that I bought off Aynsley Lister, a custom shop Strat that I managed to get from Anderton's, and Blue. And it sort of represented, and the ensuing months have represented, the end of the journey for me.
Yeah.
So I feel completely sated
That's lovely.
in the Strat journey. What's interesting about that is, on a sort of mental level, because we're all subsumed by gas all the time. It's always what's next, and you're always thinking that this piece of gear can fix it for you. It's just calmed all of that for me.
Right, that's lovely.
And I'm not saying that's a forever calming, but it's certainly it's a for now calming, and I don't feel the same pressure that I felt before. I feel much freer when I play. I don't feel so identified with the instruments and everything that goes around it. I feel kind of cerebrally calm
Yeah,
now that the mountain has been scaled.
indeed. Yeah. Because
Because I can wait a minute for the next mountain.
Sure. Yeah, but the best Strat tones, I never forget, and I've told the story many times, turning up one day to film, and I stood outside the door and I just heard this sound, and I was like, that is one of the best guitar sounds I've ever heard. And I didn't want to interrupt the moment, so I just stood out there and just listened for a couple of minutes. And it came in, and that was the day that you picked up the 61 Strat for the first time, and it was that into a fuzz face into the 2-rock.
Yeah,
and you were just having
It's a great
swang.
sound.
It was
But
epic.
What's also, I haven't become so bonded with that guitar that it's to the exclusion of everything else. So
Sure.
I've had this great love affair with gold top Les Paul this year as well.
Yeah,
and I've
yeah,
really
right.
learned about that guitar too. And it's just it's widening one's horizons and not feeling so kind of beaten by it all.
Sure.
Being free to just play them and enjoy it. And then the icing on the cake of the whole Strat journey, was the final sort of piece of the pie. Took it to Matt at Monty's, had it refretted, and it's like, there we are.
Right.
Happy days. Not only was that a enlightening experience from Matt, I mean, the skill of the guy is just, it's awe-inspiring to watch.
He's too young and too handsome to be that good at stuff.
He is. But then, it returns a guitar that I've been out and gig quite a bit. I just love playing.
This sounds killer, man.
I don't know what to say. I knew it was going to be better. I didn't quite think it was going to be this much better. It's a nice place to be. It's a calm and peaceful place to be.
Beautiful.
So the Strat journey is, I'm not going to say forever, but it is for the foreseeable future done.
Very nice. Well, I'm going to use the Matt link because this year I got the 65 Tele in a place that I'd always wanted it to be, and that was, with massive help from Matt at Monty's. Years ago, Mick and I did our Dream Rig challenge,
Oh yeah.
and
I still remember the thumbnail for that with the cigar. Was that
awesome.
that one?
That was that one.
Money No Object?
Money No Object.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. And they'll go back even further. 6 months after we started TPS, a gentleman got in touch by the name of Pete Lewis from Lewis Guitar Works.
Hello, Pete, if you ever watch this.
And he said, I've got a bunch of old Fenders if you guys want to come down and have a look.
We're like, nah.
No,
We're doing our
we're
hair
good.
that day.
So I went, yes, of course. And we went down and Pete just had this veritable smorgasbord of beautiful old Fenders. And there was this 65 Tele, and I played it, and just something about that guitar I connected with. And it was a pipe dream, you know. And an unnecessary pipe dream, because I'd had Red, and Red's such an amazing guitar.
And a family.
And and all that stuff, right? And then then years later, we did that show, and I got in touch with Pete, and because he said, if you ever want to borrow the guitar again, just let me know. And so we had the idea for that show. I called Pete and says, do you still have that guitar? Yes. Can I borrow it for the show? Yes. I went down and I thought, it's not going to be as good as I remember it, surely. And I just picked it up and went, and that it's so resonant, and I don't know, it just connects with me. And I just knew from that moment, I'm going to have to sell a whole bunch of stuff and find out a way to get it. But when I got it, it was, it's always great, but there were a few things that I'd wanted sorted out.
Yeah.
And took it to Monty's and we did it, and it was like, just been on cloud nine ever since. It's really magic.
Yeah.
And what it's illustrated to me is that even though it's a rosewood neck, I don't even know what the body is made of. Alder? Ash?
It's probably older.
Probably alder. And that's this, isn't it?
It might be ash because it was a semi see-through finish.
Right.
So I think they maintained ash on the semi see-through ones, but I don't know for sure.
Well, what's interesting?
Don't even know.
Yeah, they don't even know. But what I find interesting is that the 65 and Red couldn't be further apart.
They're very different guitars.
Very different guitars. And I, as someone who plays Telecasters 95% of the time, I love how different they are.
They're different within a bracket, aren't they? So you're interested in, if this is the guitar world, you're interested in this much of it.
Yeah.
And the guitars are vastly different in that part.
That part of it, yeah.
It's not like a Schecter 8-string different.
Yeah,
but
sure.
it is different enough for what you want.
Yeah. I love it.
The same with the Strats.
Yeah, there you go.
They're different within a bracket, and if you find the thing that you love and that inspires you, then that bracket is worth exploring.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nice. There was a few people that were like, "Oh my god, you buy a vintage guitar and change everything." It's like, no, it had been changed quite a bit already.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a perfect 65 guitar.
Well, following on from there, let's talk about another person who likes to buy vintage guitars.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this is sort of in the honourable mentions, really. We managed to go to the Albert Hall. Dan fixed it up with Josh Smith, and we ended up on stage with Joe Bonamassa in the middle of his crazy Dumble Marshall Jubilee Fender Tweed rig at 116 dB of Dumble's, Marshall's, Fenders, and 4 wedges.
It was magical. The reason I wanted to bring it up now, because we didn't get to film anything that day because it was issues
Albert
with
Hall.
filming at
There
Albert
are
Hall.
various laws in place, and you have to pay loads of money, so we weren't able to do that, unfortunately.
But meeting Joe Bonamassa is something I've always wanted to do, and if you can imagine the absolute best way in the world to meet Joe Bonamassa, I walk in to the dressing room at the Royal Albert Hall, and there's Joe Massa shaking hands on a deal to buy a burst. And then he looked at me, he goes, you think I do this every day, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, you do. Look. Yeah, so that was wonderful.
That was a really, really good day. So we've got this far in, Dan. We haven't mentioned any pedals yet. Obviously, we've played loads of fantastic pedals this year. We birthed New Pedal Day, which has been called various things over the years, where we just get a bunch of pedals and put them on the board. And there's been some lovely discoveries in that. The one I want to mention, there's been loads of great pedals. I really want to mention the Crazy Tube Circuits Boost.
Oh, yeah.
Because that went straight to the pool room, as it were.
Straight to the pool room.
Well,
Not even taking it out of the wrapper.
It went straight to my board. So honourable mention for that. But the one I want to mention is the Latent Lemon Audio Hertz. And the reason I want to mention it is because from a personal perspective, my life has been about tube screamers, clons, fuzzes. And I've never found a distortion pedal that I love.
Right.
On the right day, a good rat, I'll enjoy that.
Okay.
Jam pedals, rattler. But just for my own personal tastes, I've never found a distortion pedal that I really love. Mm-hmm. The Hertz is it. Again, it went on the board. I think we did it on NPD on a Tuesday. I had a gig on Friday night. I played it at the gig. Quite often what happens is it sounds great in here. You take it to the gig and you're like, but this was like shh. Happy days. Distortion tones.
Because you texted me and you said, I said, how's the gig? He said, yeah, I bought the amps were completely overkill because you'd bought
Two rocks.
The two rocks. But you said the Hertz, the Lemon Audio was perfect.
It was perfect.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So that's my pedal pick, I think.
There's a couple. I think we both, because in actual fact, this is a pedal that you've been playing, but the new Juggler
version 3.
So, what I've always loved about Simon Jarrett's pedals is there's a touch sensitivity about them, and to understand that sound, you need to listen to Simon play.
Yeah.
Simon has got the most beautiful touch, and he really knows how to bring great sounds out of guitar, and he takes that to his pedals.
It cleans up pretty well,
Seems to.
Yeah.
And when you hear how dynamic that Juggler is, but then how he's managed to do that, I can understand how you can do that as a straight preamp and plug it into a power amp, but to be able to do that and put it in pedal mode and put it into the front of a clean amp and do the same thing has blown my mind.
Some first-hand experience of that I had been using. So for the Andy Timmons gigs, I had a Mesa 5050, Mesa, for those of you who pronounce it correctly. A Mesa Boogie 5050 stereo power amp into a 212 EV vertical cab split wet dry. And I was using a Kingsley Maiden D and something called a Paso Doble, which was basically 2 Page DS's in one box. And from that, you sort of build the Dumble Overdrive Special architecture, preamp architecture. And it's an astonishing thing.
Incredible.
But there was quite a big difference between using that kind of, a separate preamp and power amp and cabs than just plugging into my regular amp and getting that sort of sound that way. What the Juggler did was basically put it all in one box and allow me to use it straight into the front of my favourite amp.
Incredible.
And that's been on my board ever since. And I'm using it and I flipping love it, because this might be a theme we explore a bit more this next year. Or this year, next year, who cares? Might be a theme that we explore. I'm definitely into valvey, ampy overdrives, and just loving. I don't want to say loving pedals less, because I still use shapers and boosts. Just can't get away from the TS, can't get away from the Klon, can't get away from the Crazy Tube Circuits boost, actually.
Right.
But that kind of only relying on pedals to do that is something I've moved away from just for a second. And I'm loving the sound of valve overdrive from a preamp or from an amp. And I guess having been sort of slipping down the Dumble route more and more and more, the more people I hear who play those kind of sounds and who've come up playing those sounds, and the more times I hear them recorded and the more times I hear them live, the more I realise I just love that sound so much. And so achieving it the pedal route is one route, but the piece of gear I wanted to mention was the 2 Rock TS1. My favourite amp in the world is a 2 Rock Classic Reverb Signature, which I always say is a bit like a Super Reverb on steroids. It's more than that, but it's not. A lot of people assume all 2 Rocks are like Dumbles, and it's not the case. The TS1 is so... to me, it's that sound. You put a little delay in the loop and dial up that sound with a 335.
And you're there.
And it's that sound. It's that sound, and I'm completely in love with it. Whether I can play it effectively is we'll see. But talk about inspiring.
Incredible.
And then we've used it a couple of times in videos where we've paired it with a deluxe reverb or with another 2 Rock or with various things. And my goodness me.
There's also it being a 1x12 combo. Which means you can just take it anywhere. You know what I mean? You don't have to have the big 2x12 cab in the head. It's like And you look at this, and you look at it, and it's like, how can that? You look at it and it doesn't sound the way it looks. You know what I mean?
It sounds colossal.
It just sounds ridiculously massive.
It's almost full circle, because my first really, really serious amp was a Mark III Mesa Boogie.
Wow.
And I gigged that for years. That was my main amp.
Right.
And I love that. And of course, the Mark series Boogies are even smaller than that.
Right.
And there's just this colossal sound coming out of this 112. So it's kind of a round robin and a return to some of that. But
That's
I
lovely.
wanted to mention that because it's truly a wonderful thing. And Joey Landreth took it on tour, so it got a nice...
It's got some Landreth vibes in there.
It got a
Beautiful.
nice running in as well, so happy
Excellent,
days.
excellent. I want to mention, so Joe from Hello Sailor Effects got in touch and said some really nice things and sent us a couple of things to try. And he sent us a treble booster. Now, I've tried all the treble boosters.
Yeah.
And there's a handful that really do it for me. When I tried the treble booster from Joe at Hello Sailor, I was like, what has he done? So apart from it being like a classic treble booster circuit, he's also managed to, he's got like transformers and things in there to enable it to work post buffer, which is something is just awesome. But also the story behind how Joe does his thing. So Joe's in the Navy and he builds his pedals when he's at sea. And then they'll often come with notes on them saying, I built this while we were tracking, 3
Whatever.
whatever. It's like, so the pedal is astonishing, and I think I've never seen. He's got this amazing mix of new and old stock components in his pedals, just magic. So I was really heartened by that, by someone who's building. It's not a cash grab.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's building these things with heart, and he just loves them, and people are just finding out about them. And it's just wonderful.
I think we should also just briefly mention the Mythos Cestus treble booster, which we really loved as well.
Yes.
There's been a lot this year. And on the theme of that heart thing, Markus Reeves. Markus has become a really good friend.
Yep.
He too released an unbelievable treble booster,
The Lux Master is a masterpiece.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Aside from all the other lovely things that Markus does. But he came in here for a day and we put some fuzz faces together.
Unreal.
And learnt a load and had a great day. So I just wanted to mention that.
And also
as well.
shout out for his Leo.
Get on.
The tweed drive.
Yeah.
Just astonishing.
It's a tweed overdrive with level and gain and some interesting switches.
Okay. We've been fans of Markus's work for, a couple of years now, and it's been really wonderful to get him on the show.
Yeah.
And, actually quiz him about how he does his stuff. Really fantastic.
Astonishing work. Which I guess, that brings us to the close of the main things. Let's do some quick fire honourable mentions to finish up.
Indeed.
Because everyone needs to get away and get on with their Yuletide season, don't
Yes, get onto the eggnog. We had Sean Tubbs on the show.
That was mad. Sean, amazing guitar player, lovely human. We got to know him.
Yep.
The aforementioned Simon Jarrett came on again. We try and have Simon on every time he's in the UK.
Indeed.
And we learn loads. Quick shout out to my 12-string journey. I went down the road, bought a 12-string, turned it into a sledgehammer.
Which is awesome. I went to Anderton's with my son and we bought him his first electric guitar, and our assistant for the day was Danish Pete. It was the most bonkers day. It was really, really great fun.
The aforementioned Markus Reeves, Albert Hall with Joe Bonamassa. There's loads and loads of other cool things that we did this year, and let there be loads more to come.
In 2023. Well, have a fantastic break. We've got some big plans for next year. It's going to be really, really fun.
Well, we've got some plans.
Well, yeah.
We'll see if they're big.
Indeed. Thanks, everyone. Take it easy. Have a great break, and we'll see you in 2023.
Have a good one, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.